Are optimal eating times a thing? Day 1017 conditioning. So since today's training session wasn't particularly noteworthy, I figured I'd go over a nutrition topic that I think is oftentimes misunderstood, and that's about optimal eating time, or rather, is there even such a thing? Now, in a non-diseased state, and I want to be very clear about that, so not if you have some kind of medical condition that requires you to eat a certain amount at a certain time. In a non-diseased state, there really is no such thing as an optimal eating time, with the notable exception that post-training is probably a better, not optimal, better time to have a higher carb intake. Doesn't mean you won't get any gains, doesn't mean you ruin your performance, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that it probably, for most people, most of the time, works out a little better for pick your outcome, performance, health, fat loss, whatever the case may be. However, it is not necessary, and I wouldn't even go so far as to say optimal. So what does matter? Obviously, energy balance, right? Like whether you're over or under your energy requirements at the end of the day. Total protein matters, total carbs matter, okay? Next, meal spacing does matter to some extent in the context of satiety and hunger cues, as well as comfort/discomfort from fullness. The best diets are sustainable not only because of their physiological effects, but because of their psychological effects. Now, we can manipulate our sense of fullness and satiety with a couple of things. One of them, the easiest one, is stacking meals on meals, but there's a problem with that. If you start increasing your meal frequency to something like north of 5, 6, 7 times per day, number one, it'll keep blood glucose high, which may be preferable for certain athletic outcomes, but for most regular people, that's not a good thing. But more than that, it's going to train your hunger reward psychological mechanism to just expect more food in a very short time interval. This is why fasting can be a very useful tool, particularly psychologically, for a lot of people. The problem with fasting is we got to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video. Total protein matters, total carbs matter, and total energy input matters. If we start fasting because we're trying to pull on the weight loss lever by managing total input, but we're failing on total protein or total carbs, that might not be an optimal outcome either. This is why splitting your meals up somewhere between 2 and 5, depending on your physiology and psychology, is generally the best option for most people. Eating before bed won't make you fat. For some people, eating too close to when you go to sleep might affect your sleep negatively. For other people, it might put you in a more relaxed state so you sleep better. This is an individual decision. Where the bulk of your protein or carbohydrates lie is the same. For me, I train first thing in the morning on empty. So I have the majority of my protein and carbs immediately following training because I've had a quote-unquote extended fast. I don't really consider it a fast. I was just asleep since dinner time, and then I woke up and I went and trained instead of eating breakfast right away. For those of you that train after work or in the afternoon, evening, you probably want to eat a couple meals beforehand, smaller, and then have your largest meal immediately following training after that. So while at the margins, it would not be incorrect to say that having higher carbs after training is a good idea, and something like 2 to 6 meals a day is a good idea, optimal eating times don't exist. Total protein matters, total carbs matter, and total energy intake matters. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching.